Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I will be giving you guys swatches, a demo, and review of the Pat McGrath Divine Rose 2 Mothership VIII palette. I wanted to do this video right now because even though this palette has been out for a while, Pat McGrath just re-released it in this gorgeous pink packaging. So I have it unfortunately just in the normal black lacquer packaging. Still super gorgeous though. So she re-released this in the pink packaging that previously had been very limited edition, but now you can pick it up again from her website. And she also released a bunch of new products accompanying this. So I picked up the quad and the highlighter, so expect a forthcoming video of those two items. But I thought for those of you who haven't yet picked up this palette, this might just be helpful for you in terms of seeing some more looks and swatches, and hopefully this can help you in terms of deciding whether you want to buy it in the pink packaging. So for those of you who have watched my best of 2020 eyeshadow video, you already know I am absolutely in love with and obsessed with this palette. So this was in my best of 2020 eyeshadow palettes, and honestly, it is one of the top palettes I have ever tried. So it really is very near and dear to my heart. So I'm really excited that this video also gives me another excuse to dive back into it, because recently I've been doing a ton of just new makeup hauls. I bought way too much makeup in the month of January. So very excited to return to this beauty today. So without further ado, let's first get into some swatches. So the first shade that we have here is Skin Show Rose Opal, and this is described as an incandescent champagne with opalescent shift. This is basically my go-to if I want something that has a pink shift but is still fairly shimmery. So in Divine Rose 1, there's a shade there, Iridescent Pink 003, I think, which also has a really beautiful pink shift, but it is a lot less shiny than this shade. Next, we have Naked Blush, a mid-tone coral matte. Ooh, okay, I left a little bit too much of a space there, but this is such a gorgeous mid-tone shade. This is probably one of my favorite transition shades to start out a look. It's just so perfect for my skin tone. Has that nice warmth to it, but not too warm, so it doesn't come across as orange, and it's really just the perfect shade in terms of depth for me personally. Next, we have Eleganza, which is a chromatic plum pink. This is one of my favorite Pat McGrath eyeshadows, full stop. This just makes any look so gorgeous. Like, just look at that shift. It's so pretty. You have that pink, you have the plum, you have a silvery shine to it. It's just so elegant and so gorgeous. Next, we have Bronze Rosé 005, and this is a metallic copper rose. So I must confess, I don't use this shade a ton. It kind of is quite orangey on me, and so unless I'm specifically trying to go for a sunset eye look with this palette, I usually won't use this. But it is a really beautiful and quite unique bronze, in my opinion, in that it does have that kind of rose flip to it almost. I mean, it's not actually a rose flip, but there's definitely way more rose in this bronze than you typically see, and so I think that counterbalances the orange ever so slightly. Next, we have Gold Lust 001, and this is a glistening antiqued gold. So if you're like me and have quite a few Pat McGrath palettes, you're probably pretty tired of all the yellow golds, and I must admit I am quite tired as well of them. So I don't use this shade a whole lot, but it is a gorgeous gold. So especially, I mean, if you wanted to do just like a beautiful sunset eye, like just the shades I've swatched already, perfect. You know, that's enough. And once you add the deeper matte that I'm about to swatch, you're golden in terms of a sunset eye. For me personally, I don't use these two a whole lot, but they're gorgeous shades, and if you like these sorts of shades, they perform excellently. Next, we have Extreme Burgundy, which is described as a deepened burgundy matte. Whew, look at that pigmentation. So this is a really gorgeous color, and you can probably see, you know, if I wipe off my finger and just have a very sheer layer of it, you can really get that strong rose undertone to it. So everything in this palette just really is well coordinated, and I really love that she put this rosy burgundy aubergine shade in here instead of just a normal black matte or even just a normal plum. Like, this is really a beautiful plum that has that extra bit of rosiness to it. Next, we have Divine Dusk, a luminous rose bronze. Ooh, look at that. So I will say Divine Dusk and Eleganza sometimes look a little bit similar to me in pan, but you can see in these swatches they actually have very different finishes. So Eleganza is much more of that high shine sort of finish, whereas Divine Dusk is a little bit more muted and deeper and has more of like a standard metallic finish. And so I actually find that this shade can often be used as a matte shade, so you can definitely blend it out in your crease. So this just kind of gives you some extra versatility. Next, we have Rose Seduction, which is a vivid magenta satin. So this shade I think is technically not eye safe, but it looks so beautiful on the eyes. So I do still sometimes put this on my eyes. It just brings such a beautiful pink magenta hue to really any look that you're doing. So I love putting this just in my crease, just like really blending it out and having just that gorgeous magenta scattered all over the lid. It's so pretty. But if you are a little bit concerned about having this on your eyes, this also is a beautiful blush, as is this Naked Blush shade. In general, one thing that's really great about Pat McGrath palettes is a lot of the shades can double up as being face products in addition to eye products. So next up, we have possibly my favorite eyeshadow of all time. So this is Sextraterrestrial, which is described as a fuchsia, golden peach, and chartreuse trio chrome. Ooh, look at that. Isn't that so beautiful? Oh, I love that you guys can see that green right there. You can see the whole flip. This shade is so gorgeous. This shade basically introduced me to multi-chromes, and I have been so obsessed ever since. Just look at that. So pretty. Basically in this one shade, Pat McGrath was able to capture just all of the colors of a rose. You have that gorgeous pinky rose hue, then this kind of golden shade that kind of looks like, you know, the pistil and stamens of the rose, and then you have this green, which is like the stem and the leaves of the rose. So I'm just so impressed with this shade. It's so beautiful, and it remarkably manages to be that perfect balance of something that is really glam and really special, but also something that you can pull off in a pretty like unintimidating, very within your comfort zone type of look. So I really love this shade. And then finally, we have Astral Pink Moon, which is described as a glittery peach champagne. Isn't that so pretty? Wow. Okay, there you go. Look at that sparkle. On my lids, it almost looks a little bit golden as well in reflect. So I love this scattered on top of any look. And especially this scattered on top of Sextraterrestrial. You'll just have all of the special effects happening on your eyes at once. So gorgeous. So now that we have the swatches out of the way, let's go into today's look. So I went ahead and did my right eye. So now I'll show you guys on my left eye how I got this look. And this look incorporates all of the shades in the palette with the exception of Rose Seduction, since, as I mentioned, that one is technically not eye safe, I think. So I just wanted to show you guys how that looks on the cheek in case you are concerned about that and don't want to put that near your eye area. Just to show you guys that you can still use all of the shades in this palette. So to start off, I'm going to take my Wayne Goss number 16 brush and dip lightly into Naked Blush. So this shade is so easy to work with and just picks up and blends out like a dream. Like most of Pat McGrath's mattes, this does have a bit of a powdery texture to it, so just be careful not to pick up too much on the brush. It blends out so beautifully. Now with my Sonia G Classic Crease, I'm going into Extreme Burgundy. Just putting this on the outer third of my eye. And again with Pat McGrath mattes, especially the more pigmented one, you really just need to touch your brush into the pan. You really don't need to apply any pressure to pick up the product. Next, with my Chikuhodo GSN 9 brush, I'm going into Eleganza and just putting a little bit of that in the inner third of the eye and also just kind of sweeping that up and over. I feel like Eleganza is sometimes a little bit underrated because Sextraterrestrial is such a star in this palette. But on days when I don't use Sextraterrestrial, I always go with Eleganza all over the lid. Speaking of Sextraterrestrial, now let's put that in the center of the lid. And then going back in with my GSM 9 just to refine the edges. Now taking some Astral Pink Moon and just scattering that on top of the lid as well. Again, refining the edges just a tad bit. Now for the lower lash line with my eSIM G27, I'm gonna first go into Divine Dusk and just put this on the outer 1/3 of my eye and just bring that inward a little bit. Then cleaning off that brush, I'm going into the Bronze Rosé 005 shade and putting that on the inner third of the lower lash line. As I mentioned before, I like how this bronze shade really does have a bit of that pinky rosiness to it, so it just goes so well with this look. And now with my reference number 3, I'm going into the Gold Lust 001 shade and just putting a tiny bit of that on the inner corner and also just sweeping it towards the inner third of the eye. Now with my mini booster and some Skin Show Rose Opal, I'm just gonna sweep that on my brow bone. There we go, so that's the eye look down. I'm gonna go in now with some eyeliner and some bronzer, and then I'll be right back. So I went in with my M Cosmetics brush tip liner in the shade Brown and my Gucci bronzer in the shade 2. So now let's go into this final shade, Rose Dusk. So I have my Artist Medium brush from Wayne Goss here. I'm going to just use this to hopefully not put too much blush on. I think I might have been a little bit too aggressive with the initial application, but let's just slowly blend this out. Taking my Artist Large now and just further blending that out. This brush doesn't have any product on it, so hopefully it'll just pick up some of the excess. There we go, very blushed cheeks, but at least it's a very pretty color. So let's try this again on the other side. And I'm gonna try to dab it on more so this time so I get more of a diffused color. Alrighty, there we go. So that is the blush down. Be careful if you have my skin tone or fairer, in that it can lay on a lot of pigment at once, but as you can see, you can definitely sheer it out and it is just such a beautiful rosy tone. So next with my Artist Small brush, I'm gonna go into the Skin Show Rose Opal shade and just use this as a highlight. So we have a nice connection between the eye highlight and cheek highlight. If you guys can see that, it just provides such a gorgeous pink shimmer and flip. So of all the Skin Show shades, I think this one is the most perfect one to use as a blush topper cheek highlight. So now to finish off the look and round out the Pat McGrath theme, I have this lip gloss from Pat McGrath in the shade Flesh 6. So here we are with the finished look. What do you guys think? I personally am so in love with this palette and would highly recommend it to any of you who have not picked it up, especially since you can buy it in that gorgeous pink packaging. I mean, I love her traditional black lacquer packaging. I think overall aesthetically, the black lacquer packaging is probably more aligned with my tastes. But there's something special about a pink Pat McGrath palette. So if you are at all a makeup collector and you don't have this palette yet, but you like, looks like this, I would highly recommend this palette. For me, what I personally love about this palette is it's the perfect mix of being enough within my comfort zone such that I can create great everyday looks with this, but also enough shades that are just slightly out of my day-to-day comfort zone that I often feel inspired to create new or more interesting looks with this palette. All of the shadows are just of impeccable quality. As you guys could see from the swatches, they're all so smooth and buttery, and multi-chromes can be pretty tricky to formulate, but this shade is so gorgeous. Every time I have it on my lids and I pass by a mirror, I just can't help but be so mesmerized, because at different angles it looks mainly green, or it looks mainly golden peach, or it looks mainly pink. It's just so beautiful. Like, you'll just find yourself staring at yourself in the mirror, just like moving your head left and right, up and down to like get those different angles. And I know this palette is often compared to the Divine Rose palette as being more of the adventurous palette, more colorful, more out there, more for the party girl. But honestly, I personally think both of these palettes are super beautiful, kind of regardless of whether you want more of an everyday palette or a party palette. So again, and if you just look at these side by side, yes, this palette looks more muted. It looks more like everyday colors. But if you do have a slightly warmer skin tone like myself, I actually find this one is perfect for everyday occasions. Because for example, if you just look at this quad, just these four over here, that is your perfect everyday quad. You can just use these two shades if you really want something super simple, maybe add a little bit of depth or liner with this shade, and then go to this shade if you want some sparkle. Similarly, if you wanted to introduce eleganza for some more sparkle, then that's perfect. And for all of these special shades, even though multi-chrome can sound a little bit intimidating, the tones of these are all very everyday tones that you can easily incorporate into an everyday look and just have that additional bit of sparkle and excitement to the look. And this Rose Seduction shade, even though I only put it on my cheeks today, I really, really love this on the eyes as well. This satin finish is just so beautiful as a matte shade blended out in the crease. Today, I think I overall veered more on the warm side of things because I incorporated both of these shades, and also Naked Blush runs a little bit warm. But if you are more interested in cool tones, then these three on this side plus Eleganza together make a gorgeous look that is a bit more of the plummy, mauvey, cool toned rose rather than the warm toned rose gold look. So overall, I would highly, highly recommend this palette. And I'm honestly a tad bit jealous of folks who haven't picked it up because now you get to get it in the pink packaging. And as I said at the top, this is really, if I could only keep one eyeshadow palette, I mean, I can't really make that decision, but this would definitely be at least top 3. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. And also please let me know down below what you think about the latest Divine Rose release and whether you'll be picking up any products. As I mentioned at the top, I already placed my order for the eyeshadow quad and the highlighter, so I'll definitely be reviewing those for you guys. But let me know if there are other products you guys are picking up, and if so, what your thoughts and impressions of them are. So thank you all again for joining me today, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!